Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. With the voice, Milt Thompson. Delivering the best of sports programming. Interviews with top celebrities. And the answer to the question, where are they now? And now, Milt Thompson, Playing for Keeps.
Good evening and welcome to Playing for Keeps. I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson, right here on WHMB Channel 40 every Friday night at 9 o'clock. We are so thankful for you being our watchers and regular watchers and those who watch in arrears and watch later, but and also grateful that you patronize our wonderful sponsors. We're so delighted to have Jiffy Lube as our primary sponsor, but others that are coming along. Of course, there's Bleeky Dillon Crandall. What a great law firm. Those guys do great work for you, and I'm looking forward to you utilizing their services when you need them. And there are other sponsors too. We've got Hope Training Academy, and we also have eSpot Spas. Go get your regenerative healing done right away. I think we're doing some work with Kelly, and they're getting her feeling better. Are you feeling better, Kelly?
I'm getting there.
Okay, so she's getting there, and we want to make sure that we take care of Kelly Vaughn since she takes care of everybody here on this great show. We've had your letters been telling us how much you've enjoyed the shows, in particular shows with Sandy Knapp in a two-part place, and the matriarch and had her on here, and then the unflappable one that we had with David Benner, and we were the first brother show that we've ever had here on Playing for Keeps. And today we have a special guest, and I know she goes back with me a little bit. She still looks a lot younger than me, although we're in a similar age group. I know I'm older, but that's okay. We're going to call her the indefatigable one. People say, Kelsey, what's indefatigable? Indefatigable means she doesn't get tired. She just keeps going. She keeps going no matter what the project, no matter what the end goal, what the date is. She finds a way to make it work. We can probably even talk about her late brother, started Indiana Black Expo, and good friends with mine, and her mother, my good mother, worked in our offices and took care of my guys. But anyway, we'll be right back to talk with the indefatigable one, Kathy Jordan, right after these short words.
Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube.
Welcome back here to Playing for Keeps. I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson. And, we're going to be here every Friday night. And sometimes we get the crusty old folks, and sometimes we get the lovely folks. And sometimes we're lucky, or than that, when we have someone that's lovely and indefatigable. And I think, go ahead and spell that one. Get your thesaurus or your dictionaries out. You guys will be all right here on my show. But anyway, we're talking about my dear friend, Kathy Jordan. Kathy, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Milton. Nice to be here.
Well, we do go back a little bit, don't we?
Just a little.
And we just talk about from family connections to friend connections to business connections to world connections to work connections. We've done that. Right. Tell us a little bit about this wonderful sports career that's been featured in newspapers and articles like that. And trust me, we had you scheduled before it was in the newspaper, so don't blame Kelly Vaughn on that one, all right?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Tell us, Kathy, a little bit about your days back even in our high school days.
Well, gosh, I've always been associated with sports in my memory. Just growing up, I was always outside playing with the boys. Not a lot of girls' sports growing up back in our day. So I competed with the boys a lot outdoors. And when I got to school, I did traditional things, gymnastics. That was the girls' sport to do.
Right.
And I did track and field for a while until I found out it was really hard work. Not that gymnastics wasn't, but yeah, I wasn't big on running.
Right.
But I got involved with student council and was chair of the school spirit committee, cheerleader. So I kind of started sports young and just took that with me as I got older, went to Purdue, was on the gymnastics team there, and cheered there.
And that cheerleading thing I'm discovering is more than just a notion anymore. It's more than just yelling for people. It is like a complete new sport.
Well, even in North Central was kind of ahead of the times because gymnastics was real big with the cheerleaders there. And North Central was always, state winners when it came to that because of that. But it's tremendous sport now. I mean, they have weight training and scholarships and all kind of
It's-
things
it's
now,
it's
just like
it is.
just like sports.
It's a big time sport,
It's
and
considered a sport,
they're
yeah.
athletes, and they're getting their say scholarships
Absolutely.
and doing
Absolutely.
that. Well, you have always been kind of a glass ceiling breaker. You've always kind of been a pioneer, if you will, for certain things. I used to not want to be a pioneer because they're usually one flat down with an arrow on their back, but I'd rather be a settler. Well, you're more of a settler type than a pioneer type, but
Okay.
you start trends that other people just have not heretofore been able to do. Talk about being the first African American cheerleader.
Well, I really wasn't.
You wasn't?
I wasn't. No, I always have to correct everyone on
Okay,
that.
well,
So.
that's an assumption that we've got corrected.
Yeah, there were two ladies, Pam, both of them were named Pam at Purdue. I think it was Pam Terry, Pam Ford, and they were in the 60s, in the late 60s.
Wow, you'd had to do a little research on that.
Well, no, it was well known because that was the big story in the 60s with a lot of unrest, with African American, rights, and the black students at Purdue kind of voiced their opinion. They didn't have representation. A lot of the athletes spoke up. A lot of things that we see today happening.
Right.
So the athletes were saying, and the students were saying, hey, we need representation and we need things on this campus for us. So they staged a sit-in and with the president of the university, and the president met with them, and a couple of their demands, one of their demands was they wanted a black cheerleader. And so they appointed 2 out of the 5 girls. So Pam and Pam were the first black. So I always say I stand
Wow.
on their shoulders. They opened that door.
Okay, but then the door got closed for a while and then got reopened up, right?
Well, no, there was a gentleman, Louis, he was from Gary, so
Okay.
he was the first African American male cheerleader in the 70s. And actually, so right after he graduated is when I came on. So, and then it was a long time
Long
before,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. But again, being somewhat of a pioneer, if you will,
Yeah.
kind of breaking some of those glass ceilings and saying these are opportunities, not just because I'm a black woman, but because I'm good.
Well, I hope so. I used to think I wasn't good enough, and that's why I wasn't making it. But later on, I learned,
You're more than good enough.
Yeah.
You're more than good enough. You've always been good enough, and
Thank
you've
you.
had a variety of different things that you've accomplished professionally. You said a lot of it led to sports, and a lot of it kind of began in sports. Come from a important family around town, and Reverend Charles Williams, the late Charles Williams, being a brother of yours, and he's credited with being the founder of Indiana Black Expo. And
Right, and again, misconception.
okay.
He wasn't the founder.
She is indefatigable. I mean, she's about to wear me out, but that's okay.
He was the first paid president. He was volunteer president in '80, but Mr. Cummins, and I forget there was someone else that was president that actually, he was part of the group that went to Chicago and
Yes.
got it started, but he wasn't the founder.
Well, I mean, all I know is I got calls on him saying we got to go get some money from Mayor Hudnut. I mean, that's
Yes.
so
Right.
he kind of marched me up there and city council with him.
Right.
So, but he kind of took hold of it.
Absolutely.
and-
Yeah, the expo that most of us know when it was international.
Right.
Yeah, he's responsible for
He's
that.
a legacy, and
Yeah,
then you're
and Sports Corp. He
Yep.
worked with Sports Corp. We had the Circle City
Circle
Classic.
City Classic.
He is the founder of Circle City Classic.
right there. You go. So there's nothing like the indefatigable one correcting me on all these things, and I'm glad to be corrected on things that are important and things that are
There's
important.
so many people, that you can't do it by yourself. So I like to make sure that people get their due.
Sure. And you've integrated that nicely into your sports career. Your dear late mother was also worked in our sports company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sports are just all throughout your blood. And
Yes. I wonder where I got it from, but I found out my mother used to compete at Christmas antics.
see now, so that would be a pioneering activity. See,
Yes.
your
She
mom
didn't talk
continued.
about it much, but yes.
Well, we miss her, as we do miss your brother Charles as well. And you and I got to hang out a little bit in the sports world and some in the entertainment world, and you've had some background in film and in movies and storytelling and in sports. So tell us about how you integrated those things into kind of your adult life.
Again, it goes back to high school, as you know. Was involved with the choir at Counterpoints at North Central, and so I've always had a love for music. Got involved with community theater. And then that passion I just took with me when I started working with the Pacers. I was doing game operations where I got to schedule the anthem singers and the halftime shows. And so that kind of got me into that. And before that, I was working with my brother at Black Expo and learned a lot from him as he was bringing in these big acts for Expo. So I got to work with a lot of those entertainers.
And athletes too.
Yes, and athletes
I
too.
mean, you know,
yes,
Muhammad Ali and others in the boxing venues where I got to meet them.
Right.
Yep.
So, yeah,
and so some of the big entertainment acts as well.
Yeah, Quincy Jones was one that he brought in, and so yeah, there was a lot of big names, and then I kind of picked that up from him when I was working with the Pacers, and we had Kid and Play and Salt and Pepper that we brought in for post game things, and the Beach Boys with Ray Compton.
Okay, of course. Well, that was a time when there became blending of sport and entertainment.
Yes.
And for it to really become its own multi-generational industry.
Right.
And every athlete I know wants to be a rapper. Every rapper I know wants to be an athlete.
Seems that way.
It seems that way. But being able to blend and understand that they're both looking for the same things.
Right.
They're looking for adulation, they're looking for fans, they're looking for how many followers that they're going to have in social media and how we do that. You came along in a time when they didn't have social media.
No.
And you were also a part of the whole notion of promoting individual athletes.
Yes.
Tell us how that came about.
Well, I had a sense when I started working for the Pacers, I think they were averaging like 1,000 people of fans in the crowd. And that was Ray Compton was the general manager and over marketing at that time. And that was one of his goals was to increase, the fan base. And one of the things that I discovered, or I don't know if I just innately knew that or just common sense to me or what it was, but it's like people have to like you to follow you and support you. So, and in order to like you, they have to know you. They have to know who you are. So, when I got in there, we started doing a lot where people were just asking for T-shirts or autographs or whatever, but we started incorporating more of the guys getting out and doing more, and tried to do more to promote them as individuals and more marketing things with the players. And that I think that all, along with the concerts, the post-game concerts, and a lot of promotions that we were doing. And then we brought the ABA guys back because that was one of the things I noticed.
So you say that's intuitive. That's not necessarily intuitive. That's a learned and earned skill.
Okay.
And you've been able to do that in an indefatigable kind of way. And we're going to come back and talk more about that stellar career that she's had during the Indiana Pacer tenure and after. We'll be right back here on Playing for Keeps with the indefatigable Kathy Jordan. We'll be right back.
Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube.
And welcome back to Playing for Keeps. I am your host, DeVorce Mill Thompson, right here on WHMB Channel 40 every Friday night at 9 p.m. So keep on watching, keep on sending the cards and the letters and the thoughts about how it is you enjoy the folks that we've had on the show, because it's not just good sports programming. It is the best sports program that you're going to find around here. At least that's what it says on the billboard, right? So at least got to believe what you read.
Believe what you read.
Got to believe what you read. And I'm believing what I hear and what I see with the indefatigable Kathy Jordan, who has graced us with her presence here on our show, and so delighted to see her. I used to call her home girl because we go way back, but also had some opportunities to work with her in her professional career. As you were kind of breaking some of the glass ceiling stuff and women beginning to make their way, and we've already had the matriarch Sandy Knapp on our show for a couple of times, and she was in an era where it just didn't happen, right?
Right.
My cousin Beverly Thompson was one of the very first pace setter people there, and but you came after that, and then you parlayed that into sports business, if you will, and working with these athletes who needed to be known, and you sensed that they needed to be known, and how did you come to be the one that helped them?
Well, my background was in education. I actually wanted to teach and coach, and I was a physical education teacher and had a minor in special ed. And so that was an easy transition into doing what I did. I had been married to an athlete, and got to live that other side for a while. And it wasn't easy. A lot of people think it's all fun, games, diamonds, whatever.
Right.
And it's, everybody's not Michael Jordan, everybody's not Shaquille O'Neal, everybody's not Reggie Miller. So most of us are not. And so it was a really difficult life. And so I saw what he as well as the other players went through, especially transitioning in or being traded in. So when I got the job with the Pacers, that was one of the first things I did because no one helped us. When he went to Cleveland, no one was there to say, hey, can we help you? We didn't know anybody in Cleveland, didn't know the streets, didn't know anything. So I just remembered that. Vern Fleming was the first player drafted after I had started working there, and he was married with a small child. So I reached out to his wife, Michelle, said, hey, can I help you? Help you find, neighborhoods, kind of took her around the city, showed her the different neighborhoods, talked about the school systems, because little Vern wasn't in school yet, but he would be in school pretty, in a couple of years. Beauty salons, especially back in the 80s, wasn't a lot of African-American, beauty salons to do African-American hair. So just try to introduce her to things, doctors and things like that. Sort of the welcome wagon is how it started.
That wasn't part of your job description, though, was it?
Absolutely not.
So, in other words, you had to kind of create this on-the-job opportunity.
Yeah,
that flourished.
I didn't think of it as a job. I was just reaching out to help because I had been in her shoes before. My job was promotions assistant. Like I said, I was doing halftime
Right.
bookings and national anthem and promotions and marketing things. That was just something I did on the side and actually shouldn't have been doing, especially as a female. They didn't like the front office intermingling with the team unless that was specifically your job, which at that time was mainly a PR person getting media interviews. But I just did it because I knew it needed to be done. And so actually Donnie Walsh was an assistant coach at the time, so he knew what I was doing. Then became general manager 2 years later. And called me in his office and said, hey, I know what you've been doing. I was like, okay, let me pack up
and go, but I'm not going to stop you.
I was not supposed to do that. And he said, no. I saw how it helped because the players would go, hey, Vern, how did you do this? And, he's like, oh, there's this black lady in the office and she was helping me out. So then some of the other guys would ask me for help with different things. And that's really how it started. Donnie saw it and saw how it helped the players, especially get settled quickly and asked me to continue doing it and kind of through the rest of the family. I want you to do the wives, I want you to do the parents, I want you, everybody, So
About this, I am not misinformed, Miss Indefatigable. You are a trendsetter and a starter for other teams in the NBA in particular to begin that. And I know that Kelly's going to find probably a front page article of some newspaper around here that may have that and get this on our camera so people can see that it is talking about breaking ground and for others. So I know there's a lot of stories that you have about the players, and some of it you can talk about, some of it you don't want to talk about. But what were some of your favorite stories or some of your favorite players just because you got to get them out there? And I know that they're all your favorites.
I know. I always say I never have any favorites. I don't have any favorites. Everyone has a special place in my heart because they're all individuals, and I think that was why I was successful because I treated them each as individuals, didn't lump them together. Everybody's different. Treated them the way I wanted to be treated. So now, Wayman was a lot of fun, and my stories with him is just like barriers he broke, with some of the marketing things that the players had to go through, and working with him and his.
He had a pretty mean bass guitar too, though. On top of that,
left-handed bass that he played a right-handed bass with the left hand. Yeah, he played it upside down, so that was really interesting.
That was a trick, but it was really good too.
Yeah, but working with him and his anti-drug program. Nancy Reagan came to honor him for that, so that was a memorable experience with him. Of course, Reggie and some of the things that he was doing, getting him out in the community. He was very good, never wanted any publicity, would not allow me to talk about what he was doing. When I wanted to put him up for the different awards, he didn't allow me to. Until he retired, I said, I'm doing it anyway. And he got the award. He shared it with Peyton, the good sports, sportsman's
Pathfinder Award, probably.
Well, no, this was a national sports.
Sports, yes.
Yeah, the sports good something or other. I forget what it was called, but yeah, he started getting a lot of. I know, but yeah, a lot of great stories. I can't even begin to remember them all, but everyone was great to work with.
But all of a sudden, this becomes something that every franchise says, well, we need to do this. We need to help these players.
Yeah, our guys were so good. I mean, and I give a lot of credit to Donnie because I couldn't have done any of this without his support. It always starts at the top.
Right.
So who's ever at the top it trickles down. So, you know, he gave me all the resources I needed. I had a nice, healthy budget to get the resources and bring in professionals if the guys needed something, you know, that I did not have the expertise or background to help them with. I could bring in folks to work with them. So it was a lot of one-on-one working with them, but he was there supporting me all the way. Could not have done it without that. And a lot of teams don't have that.
Well, literally, the interaction and the relationship building with individual players is such a critical thing to their ultimate success. And now these
Absolutely.
days, when they can afford to buy every little piece of it is, but you know, the team has a responsibility too.
To some extent,
Yes.
yeah. You would hope as an agent, their agents would be helping them with, but that's not the case.
As a former agent, so now we're going to do the correcting the other way
Okay.
in this independent.
Former agent, but I
there
mean,
you
you
go.
know, some
Right.
do, some don't.
Some
yeah.
do, some don't. But you made sure that they had their needs met and you looked out for them. If they ask you for anything is one thing, but you kind of formulated plans and kind of went to them and said, you
Right.
suggest how
Right.
it is we get yourself in a better position.
Yeah, well, one of the advantages I had as I traveled with them, so every game I was with them, you know, on the road, and they did embrace me, which was nice. So they would invite me to different things. So I saw them in different environments, and I could really observe and see maybe where they could use some assistance with different things, or they would come to me with things they would want to do, and it's like, okay, I can help you get that, and
Right.
you know, bring you some resources and things like that to help you do that. So yeah.
Well, Dave Benner was on here a couple of weeks ago talking very much about individual relationships with folks, and that he actually had a retirement not long before appearing on the
Right,
show
right.
where Reggie Miller came in and,
Right.
and they did their routine. And
Right.
so they explained about that happened because of him being superstitious.
Yes, Reggie
but
was very
also,
superstitious.
but he could not do that without someone with whom he couldn't develop a relationship.
Absolutely.
And these other folks
absolutely.
couldn't either.
Yeah, yeah.
One time our paths crossed was after the Pan American Games, and the folks went into the ambassadors program as well as having a special Olympics program for Olympians and how to raise money for them.
Right.
And they called what they wanted to do the Larry Bird Pro All-Star Scholarship Classic.
Right.
And
right.
the matriarch, Sandy Knapp, and myself and some others all approached Larry Bird to see whether or not he would be interested in doing this. It was not an easy ask because
I'm
you've got to
sure.
get players from all these other places. They've got
Yes.
part of their summer times to play in this event. Tell us a little bit about it, because I know you and I were stuck in a room with these players and invitations, and how do we get them to come to Indianapolis to play in this game on a Sunday night? Do you remember some of that?
I don't. I mean, that's one thing. It's like you do so many. I do remember Larry's game and remember doing that, you know, what we did, 3 years
Yep.
before he stopped. And but I remember a lot of my responsibility was the game part of it, the game
gotcha.
logistics and doing the entertainment and the halftime and calling the show. I was sort of like the stage manager of the show.
Well, but it was a little deeper than that, as I recall. But I know
Okay.
that we were making contact with players and their agents to see whether or
Well,
not they
yeah,
play.
yeah.
Then you had to raise $100,000 for the game for charity just for it to be sanctioned.
Right,
and
right,
then
right,
so
right.
how we would
Working
have
with
to
the
get a
NBA
plane
to do that,
Yeah,
yeah.
to ABA had to help us do that.
Yeah.
But we had experiences like that. But a lot of that had to do with your relationships with players. When they would call you, they would say, I'm Miss Indefatigable, and I'm the one here who's going to make sure that you have everything that you want and need, and we're
Yes.
going to provide it for you. In fact, you're going to be a model for all those out there that need that kind of service in their leagues and teams.
Well, I mean, I think you do develop a relationship, but you know, and that's how it kind of started with Stern, kind of during the first lockout. The guys were out in the community doing stuff because we always got awards from the NBA. Our guys were very involved in the community more so than any other team.
Well, you're getting my award right now for being the best guest today here on Playing for Keeps, the indefatigable Kathy Jordan. Come right here next Friday night here on Playing for Keeps.